comes to you? Okay. Shobit, go on. What works? Whatever works.
So, I think what comes to my mind, Neeraj, is for each one of us individually, how are we improving ourselves? If we can exhibit that in our day-to-day working, it might be a small process, it might be something which we might be doing on an everyday basis. But if we are willing to challenge that status quo and exhibit that we are willing to change, that to me will be the biggest thing each one of us can do. There is no one else who is going to come and do anything. This all of us make the organization.
Make ourselves vulnerable, you think?
I think make ourselves open to challenge and say how can I improve? We can find 10 ways for the organization to improve, but point. Usually we don't find ways for ourselves to improve.
Great point.
So if we can exhibit that we are willing to improve, each one of us individually, that I think will be a very powerful sign for each one of us to demonstrate. A great point.
Great point.
My view, Neeraj, is a two mindset. First and foremost mindset is learn, unlearn, relearn. So you need to be continuously a learning organization. So probably a lot of times, once you arrive, you stop learning. You stop looking at the things in a new perspective.
Absolutely.
So what made us successful? We are a lot of times we are slave of our success. So we don't see things in a new perspective. Probably very important. How do you able to create that learning organization that transforms yourself into a leadership mindset? So very important for us. How do you able to cultivate that leadership mindset? So the leadership mindset is because the leadership mind which is more vulnerable.
Yeah.
So leadership mindset which is because which encourages trust among the people. Leadership mindset which is transparent among the people.
Good point.
Leadership mindset which only focus on meritocracy.
Correct.
So I'm not biased to have this kind of. So this leadership mind, not that leader at the top. Each and every individual, even a CRM at the field,
behavior
has to exhibit this behavior.
Absolutely.
So then if you are able to have that learning culture and leadership mindset, then you can see nobody can beat UltraTech.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I'll add to the leadership mindset. I think one of the mindset, if at all we're talking about all customers, I think one of the mindset is that it's also what the front end or the last mile who's facing the customer is also empowered in some way. That's also mindset, right? It's not that if the approval goes to 5 levels, I think I will think differently. He can also think about a customer and he can do the right thing for the customer as compared to a long chain of approval. So I think empowerment to the last mile to take a decision to take care of the customer requirement at that point of time is also one way to demonstrate, I think, for all of us to look at saying that you are enabled, you are empowered to do this then, because I think you are doing it for the company, do it for the customer for that matter as well. So I think great.
So very important that every leader need not to know everything. Very important is that
impossible also, right?
No, it's not possible. Vaibhav, I cannot say ये तो मेरे को बताया नहीं.
Correct.
So very important is that how do you able to give space to the people, so that they are able to experiment.
No, absolutely.
And they are ready to fail.
Yeah, correct.
So आप fail हुए तो भी बता के fail करो. Then again there is not a living. So that means that. So I want to, because there is an open mindset, there is a controlled mindset. You want what is that organization you want to cultivate and you want to do.
Yeah.
So these kind of things are really going to create a future ready organization, which we are talking about the topic.
Correct. Absolutely. No, great point. I think there
is one point which comes to very strongly to my mind, I think, which Shobit touched upon, but let me elaborate a little bit more on that. We are a fairly, not a very young organization. I'm talking not by the averages, but we have been there in business for a very long time. And one of the biggest challenge for such organization is a kind of an inertia sets in. And he, brought that concept of challenging the status quo. I think every innovation in the startup has happened because they have questioned the status quo, right? it is nothing like an eureka. Nobody can find out gravity every day. Yeah. So I think they have questioned that why it should only happen like this way, right? And the great innovations happen. So I think one of the behavior is to start because are there for a very long time in a function in an organization. Then you think this is the only way things will happen. This is the only way the delivery will happen. This is the only way, the things can happen. I think if you have to really change the behavior is questioning the status quo. And that's where innovation can happen. There is where experiments can happen. There is where failures can happen. There is where learning can happen. I think that's one thing, which we should be always to keep with the organization. In fact, I remember one of a very senior colleague in the industry used to always talk about a beautiful sentence: keep the pot boiling.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It means always in the agitation, so that there is nothing like, everything will get settled down. So I think this is behavior specifically, because somehow we have to come out that this is the only way that things can happen. The more you question the status quo, you will find a great change that can happen. And it also makes the people to think in that direction, right? Because you can't just say ideas will drop every day from the sky. But if you question the status quo, I think great.
No, I agree.
And that's the solution.
What Padil is saying, I can have some more thinking. It's come to my mind is that one important thing is a very important leadership when no one is watching.
Good point.
So why it is important to you is that nobody can see you, observe you, so that observe. Since my boss is watching, my leadership behavior is different. When my boss is not watching, my leadership.
Correct.
So very important culture we all need to cultivate is like entrepreneurial kind of mindset. Leadership when no one is watching. If the day we are able to come to that level of maturity, that comes with next point. Comes to mind is candor. So how honest in your discussion with your bosses or with your juniors or whomsoever in the setup? Whether are you encouraging open discussion and are you encouraging that if I'm uncomfortable somebody questioning my authority, then automatically the
other person will not question. The other person will not question next time.
So very important is that how do you able to come out of this? Then only you will able to create that art. So it comes to my mind very clearly, leadership no one. Everybody at every level exhibits this. Then you will see the kind of mature organization will able to.
I think it's great discussion. I think a lot of good points came out. I think I'm maybe I picked up few of them. I may be challenging the status quo, willing to change. We talk about leadership qualities, or everyone. Empowerment was, collaboration was another aspect of it. I think the lot of good points came out from a behavior perspective, and it's coming from all experienced leaders sitting out here. So obviously, when we say it, we mean it. And I think that is what we want to take it forward from there. Okay, so I think there are some audience questions as well. So maybe I'll read out for you. And I think maybe let me read it and then maybe pass it on to. So one question is, with our scale, how do we inculcate right amount of agility as a larger team? How do we start behaving like entrepreneur with scale where the decision made quickly, action swiftly, also let the culture build right from top to bottom. Idea can come from anywhere. I think we talked about some of those things. But Padil sir, you want to respond to this? So
I think the agility comes from where the people can decide then and there. I think in the last 3 or 4 years, huge amount of work being done by us on empowerment of the people, right? So when you empower the people are able to decide then and there. Their ability to take decisions becomes very high. They will learn fast, and also it puts a pressure on the organization to align the systems in that way. When we empower the people, I think if you ask me, one biggest change that we have made in the last few years is empowering the people, and specifically the frontline people who are there in the customer facing field. I think today the kind of freedom they have to decide what is right for the customer. In the process, we have learned a lot of things. It has become a very open organization. We have changed a lot of our policies in the way to enable them Like I mentioned, there is nothing like we'll get back to you tomorrow. You have to decide then and there, which also means improving the quality of decision, improving our processes, and making sure that we are always agile. That also puts a huge amount of pressure on the seniors uh, to decide fast, to enable them, provide the system process such a way that, because they are in the front line.
I think taking that forward, frontline means we are making them customer centric and saying customer decides everything. So I think the decision making across the hierarchy and the last mile becomes that if it is matters for the customer, take it, because it is finally at the end of the day what customer matters, right? So
Small point I
yeah,
would
sure,
like to add in this.
sure.
See, recently, more than 150 SOP processes we have simple. We have made it very simple in a way that the empowerment to the zonal head, regional head, and below. So that is how we have brought the agility into the entire system. I think after last Akraman, in next 6 months we have worked on that.
Yeah.
Even see that doesn't stop there. If even today somebody feel
Correct.
we need this to happen, we are ready to.
Correct.
Because one mail I am away. Just let them send the mail. We'll ensure we'll.
Correct. I think the great point you're making, it's not about once in 6 months. It's about if we, as a commitment, we are saying that we are going to empower you. And if you think, or any of us, our colleague thinks that no, in this particular case, I don't feel empowered, feel free to reach out to people. And surely, I think as a leadership,
That's the right question.
Absolutely.
And one more point I would like to add in this. A lot of times we ask empowerment. We have to say
We don't take.
accountability.
Yeah.
Very important is that I have all the empowerment. I'm not ready to take that decision. And there is no meaning of it.
Accountability.
Boss से पूछ लेते हैं. I'm empowered.
I've been empowered. Still you ask me, boss, I'm doing it. So very important is that the person who is asking empowerment should be ready to take accountability for it.
Correct.
So both goes hand in hand.
Correct.
Then you will see a better organization.
Correct. Okay, so another question, Himanshu, I'll address it to you. How do you see leadership within the sales force evolving? And how can we empower more salespeople to step up as leaders?
I think we have very good process inbuilt. In fact, right from if you look at front level, we have various levels like Alchemy program. It is a very good program which you have inbuilt. We are taking from reasonably good B schools and we are training them, putting into front line. Then they will be accelerate the fast track to the senior level. At the same time, we are also taking CRMs at the front level from different B schools and putting them to TSH. From TSH to the regional head, we have a step-ahead program. I think that also fast track now. 3 step-ahead programs are already there. I think more than 60% of these people have been already elevated to the level of regional heads. And so from there, even we are looking at from regional head to the next level to go for some other programs.
Mm-hmm.
So very clearly, people who are ready to take that responsibility and able to work with agility, people are having very good scope for growth now.
Oh, lovely, great. So I think one question, I think Vaibhav and Shobit, how can salespeople enhance their empathy and customer-centric behavior? That's a question. How can they look at enhancing that? They have it, but how can they really enhance that?
So,
Please.
so one simple tip can be put yourself in customer shoes and think from their standpoint. You need not practice anything. Just ask the question, in this situation, what is the customer thinking, or how will the customer react?
Good point.
I think automatically you will become much more empathetic to what the customer is saying. So just before any of the interaction, just ask that question, what might be the customer be thinking at this moment for this issue? Just ask that question. You will feel that I have walked away having a much better conversation. So something which has worked, I do that every time I step into it. I ask specifically what he or she might be thinking.
No, I think it works everywhere, if you ask me. Not only customer, it works in interpersonal, in colleagues, and everywhere. I think that's a great point. Whatever you want to add to it?
No, so thanks, Shobit, for this lovely point. In fact, I'll just take you to the next side of the coin, that before you act and you ask this question, which Shobit said, it's always important to go back and reflect, because we all have got certain blind spots in our behavior, certain ways of working which we feel we are not even aware of it. So once we have done it, if we have a daily habit of, say, reflection, if I'm in the market today and I've interacted with, say, 5 customers or 3 dealers, I go back in the night, at least for 5 minutes, I reflect. Was I empathetic? Did I missed out something? Was there something which I could have done better? And when you will do this exercise next day, evening again, you will be conscious in the day of doing this piece. So reflection is, I think, it's an important piece to.
It's a great point. I think a lot of these behavior we are talking about is not necessarily one day you get up in the morning and you'll be able to execute it. I think it's about being aware that maybe I need to work on some of those things, try it out, maybe reflect, think from customer perspective, get a lot of ideas, try it out, become better, and become better. And that's how we can all become better. So great. I think those were the questions. I think we come to the last section of our, I think we are almost the top of our hour. One thing, each one of you, all the leaders, I'm just requesting. I think we talked about quite a bit of digital, right? And we said we have some 20 years experience, 25 years experience, 30 years experience. And we are not necessarily, all of us are digital native, right? Not alphas and then these of the world. Tell me one example from all your daily life, which you're trying to change yourself just because digital is becoming the in thing, which you were not yesterday, but you want to become one of those. What is that which you guys are trying to do? One thing which you were not good at, which you were not worried about, but now doing it. Maybe we can go from this side. Okay, Raghav, you go.
So I'm, Neeraj, actually I'm trying on two things. One is there's a skill spotter tool which our human resources HR department has done, which is a generative AI tool of interviewing behavior skills, right? You upload the JD, you upload the CV, and then it will analyze and will at least use it. So that usage of that tool is something which I'm very particular about. I'm trying to do that. And second is our WhatsApp. Each one of us have got WhatsApp. We are kind of hooked to the WhatsApp every day, right? So there is a Meta AI Llama 3.0 version of AI which is there in WhatsApp. I ensure that at least 2 or 3 queries every day. Even if it is the stupidest of the queries saying that, okay, will my milkman come today to deliver the milk to my house? I ask that AI. Let me see what kind of responses they are giving. Anyway, right from professional to personal, I try to do that. So these are 2 tools which I'm kind of.
Awesome. Great. Padil sir?
Yeah, I think, what we are used to the paperwork, in the past. I think one of the biggest challenge when I had was that how, with an extensive travel, how do you be update on your reports? I have found Tableau has been very useful too. And that to Tableau on mobile, you are always connected, updated. I think I have extensively used Tableau for my reports, no more Excel sheets. Second, I think rightly mentioned, we are talking about ChatGPT, AI. It is just to be curious to know that what it is all about, what it can do, and try to find out what is the relevance for our business, what is the relevance for the function, right? That is still being exploring. Very interesting. Right? So I think these are the 2 things, I'm trying.
Lovely. Thank you. Shobit, for you?
For me, actually, in my personal time, I like to read various magazines, news, articles, etc. Obviously, there's paucity of time. So what I'm trying now is using AI to read the summary of those articles.
Oh, nice.
And only if the summary is good, then I go on. So this is I'm trying to do, but there is a natural inclination to go read. But this is something which I'm trying.
Oh, lovely. Great. What about you, Macha?
So first and foremost, now whatever reviews I'm having with my zonal team, I stopped encouraging PPTs with them.
Oh, nice.
So I asked to open Tableau and ask right questions and ask them to show the data. So that their time and my time both are saved. So that with our review, people asked if there is a review, people come with a PPT, they have to spend 48 hours in advance to do it, just to see how much of the time and productivity can increase. So I think I encourage all the sales team, use Tableau and BI very effectively and stop this PPT business.
Oh, lovely.
It can really increase our
productivity. Yeah, absolutely.
That is the one thing. And another important thing I said, at least once in quarter, physically meeting to have reviews is fine. Physical reviews, meeting together is a waste of time. That time they can go and visit customer and have a good meetings with the customer can really help us to improve our productivity. We'll be able to have a better consumer insights. That is the first thing. Second thing, on the personal front, I'm an extensive user of IT, and earlier I used to use a HBR article by reading HBR book. Now HBR app is being downloaded into my mobile. I read that, and I extensively use ChatGPT. And even some of the letters which I draft, some of the thinking which I do through ChatGPT.
Oh, awesome. Great. I think from my perspective, I think though at UTech, we are kind of a little digital native, so we try and solve problems with some technology in some way. But what I do as such is that I start, because digitally also when you track a lot of processes, it also gives you a lot of leading indicators. So I think rather than being worried about the last mile, which is like for customer ka feedback kya aaya, but there are several leading indicators you can look at, monitor on a day-to-day basis, which can lead to a greater customer experience as compared to the final kind of an outcome. And we have been able to create some of those in views we are able to look at. So I think that is something which fascinates me and think, because it looks like where the problem is and how do we really solve proactively as compared to looking at reactively and coming back to that. So I think those are some of those things came out. I think great time. I think thank you so much for such a nice colleagues, and maybe we just went on and went on. I think we're top of the hour.